Okay, greetings everyone. Welcome everyone. Good afternoon and happy Lhabab Duchen festival to everyone. Today is very auspicious day. Uh, and I welcome all of you here. And thank you, Geshe for arranging this. Thank you, Menlhai Jamtse Center for our spiritual growth and helping each other. I would like to start today's session with the prayers. Um, okay, just give me a minute. Yeah. Okay, please join me for the prayers. Taking refuge and generating bodhicitta. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha by my accumulations of the practice of giving and so forth. May I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By my accumulations of the practice of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By my accumulations of the practice of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. Four immeasurables. May all sentient beings have happiness and the cause of happiness. May all sentient beings be free of suffering and the causes of suffering. May all sentient beings not be separated from the bliss that is free of suffering. May all sentient beings live in equanimity, free from attachment and hatred towards those near and far. May all sentient beings have happiness and the cause of happiness. May all sentient beings be free of suffering and the cause of suffering. May all sentient beings not be separated from the bliss that is free of suffering. May all sentient beings live in equanimity, free from attachment and hatred towards those near and far. May all sentient beings have happiness and the cause of happiness. May all sentient beings be free of suffering and the cause of suffering. May all sentient beings not be separated from the bliss that is free of suffering. May all sentient beings live in equanimity, free from attachment and hatred towards those near and far. Now, first thing, I would like to congratulate Geshe and our center for getting the certificate, ATG certificate, on this auspicious day. I would like to tell you what Geshe has shared about the Lhabab Düchen festival, its significance. Lhabab Duchen is one of the most significant Buddhist festivals celebrated to commemorate the Buddha's descent from the celestial realms. According to Buddhist tradition, after attaining enlightenment, Buddha Shakyamuni ascended to Tushita Heaven to teach his mother, Queen Maya, and the celestial beings. This act was motivated by gratitude and the wish to repay the kindness of his mother, who had passed away shortly after his birth. After spending 3 months in Tushita, Buddha descended to earth on this day, fulfilling the prayers of his disciples and benefiting countless beings. This event symbolizes the Buddha's boundless compassion and the continuous efforts to guide sentient beings towards liberation. Significance of Lhabab Düchen. The day is marked as an auspicious occasion when the effects of positive and negative actions are believed to be multiplied manifold. Buddhists engage in virtuous activities such as meditation, generosity, ethical conduct, prayer, studying dharma, acts of compassion, volunteering, pilgrimage, mindful speech, and dedicating merit to sentient to all sentient to benefit all sentient beings. So that is it. Gisela, now I would like to hand over to you for further teachings. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining, and thank you.
Hello. Touch the left. Everyone. Happy Lhabab Düchen.
Happy Lhabab Duchen.
Okay. So I'm going to talk in Tibetan. It's better for me. So that 드린 먼저 Lhabab Düchen 안에 정말인데 좀 더 같아. 근데 되게 순대지 아니 최년시에 그든지 거라 버렸어. 네 항상 여기다 되게 잡아줘야 된다는 거. 근데 제 중간에 소송 성명면에 어떻게 와서 뭐 쇼지 삼상게 아니 삼로다 근데 아니 다음에 제가 아는 건데 Lhabab Düchen 송디 쉬에 아니 다가세 지된 게 잡고도 송디 쉬가 좀 많이 봐. 근데 최다 오늘 더최 냠래다 딘데단 데가 삼만남다 그노 삼보 직군에 안에 Lhabab Düchen 송디 쉬게 있는 삼상게 딘데지 아니 삼로톤에 아니 송디 쉬에 있는
So on this auspicious occasion of Lhabab Düchen, to have received an opportunity to teach and listen to the teaching of the Dharma is to be thought as a very auspicious and a very precious opportunity. And so on this day, we should view this particular festival not as any sort of worldly festival where we come, gather, and celebrate, but to think of it as a very precious opportunity, which is a rarity to receive or achieve. And then with that intention, we should celebrate this particular festival on which we have this opportunity to teach and receive teaching.
그래서 나당 저게 최년시에 제바에 나래 다 최년내 제바에 나래 딱 개체션도 거기다 토마들라 안에 끊어서 항상 개체 못 잡았어. 끊어온 데스 상해를 때문에 왕게 내 소속이 대부 상해져. 그래서 나 끊어온 야보지 내가 백해서 버렸어. 그래서 단종 간저 안에 토마들라 끊어제 나 담아 쪽들라 안에 뭐만 야보세 백해서 버렸어. 나 담보 간저 드린 안에 끊어온데라 전족섬다 안에 동지 똑바로 따바니 끊어나네 안에 대체 그래서 담보 간저 안에 저 Lhabab Düchen 모두다 마시응을라 안에 가서 전족섬다 안에 동지 돌아네 모두 통통제다 안에 this come signature 안에 검자인스
For every practice, it is important that it should be preceded with pure and great intention, whether it be the practice of dharma or whether it be the teaching and listening of dharma. The one that precedes and one that takes significance as the sort of initiation to any of these is the intention, and therefore to set a pure and great intention for today's occasion, before we proceed with the introduction of the sort of like the festival, what Lhabab Düchen means, let us first set our intention. And we shall do this by having a very brief introduction to the mind of the Bodhisattva, that is the bodhicitta, and the wisdom pertaining emptiness.
그래서 나 가해서는 다 전족섬다 아니 동지도 갔다 왔니 가세는라고 했으나 다들 전이 지역이 냥보다 없차고다 다 상계도 벌어 전족섬 내 매바이나 아니 상계도 뭐 다 상계가 맞잖아 그래요서나 다 뭐먼저 뭐스다 고변내는 내대에 심제 뭐고 시부터 등한 영한테 먼저 뭐서 통고요를 고요를 sur고를 에나스 먼저게 되네 고도야 답변 남는다 함재팀에 남는 대대 먼저는 누가도 요 누바도 수라도스나 아라니 상계바이나 때다가 누바도 소소도 어디에서 막 갖고 배터네 아니 상계에 딱 매주로 저래서 세는 딱 심제된 저 안에 동안에 쪼베지도 뭔가 상계인다 딱 저는 뉴도 상계에 삼상그 삼로 흉충 당월 어딘데게 삼로데 전juk 셈스나 딘데도 당 와서 전주sem이나 전수sem이 되도 당 와서 저 요바데 딘데지로 데 안에 계속 직접 니와들라 대체부 되그래서나 디제고 안에 제고 디제고 말 전주 상계발라 안에 차진지 카르고서나 탑다고 되제 다 데이터라 안에 시랍세 탑신이 거네 시랍된 안에 돈이도 뺐다고 돈이도 배 따바티 가시는 개진 버렸어 봐이나 상계발라 먼저게 뒤바빵 상계발라 고고 받으지고 곡진 뒤바탐자는 빵고 봐서나 뒤 빵게데 전주 생겨야 뒤빵도 다디 빵이야 누가도 소리였으나 근데 시랍이었어 시랍 시랍교에는 연목받아 시제집에 님보 세네네 타발 타바다 탐제 좀 도버지 그랬어 데토발아니 시랍세데 맨한테 좀 어쩌랬어 근데 송대토는 상계고 그랬어 그래서 난 먼저부터 그런서 남도 어다디 아니 드니 치고 좀 데토디랬어
So, speaking briefly on what is the mind of the Bodhisattva, that is the bodhicitta, in our practice of the Dharma, the importance or the significance of us setting the intention with the bodhicitta and the wisdom pertaining emptiness is because these two are the essence or the heart of all practices of Dharma. The mind of the bodhisattva or the bodhicitta, as we define, is a mind that perceives the suffering of all the sentient beings. We too, in our day-to-day life, we see that many sentient beings, mother sentient beings, are suffering at every single moment. But because we are not competent enough, because we don't possess the potential to liberate them from this suffering, we should pursue we should pursue the path that actually helps us achieve this particular goal, that is the attainment of complete enlightenment. Only after the attainment of the complete enlightenment, we become potent enough to be able to help these sentient beings who are suffering every moment, momentarily suffering in the samsara. And not only that mind, this mind should also be sort of like amplified with the thought that this particular attainment of the enlightenment, which I want to pursue for the sake of sentient being, should be attained as swift as possible. That I should attain this. Not only should I attain this, I should attain it as swift as possible. And so, with that particular type of mindset, we may define, in a very general way, define what is a bodhicitta or the mind of the bodhisattva. And then, usually, when we talk and when we define things in terms of the progression of path and practice, we call it mean. But the mean and method should not come singularly, because even if we have that intention or mind of attaining enlightenment for all the sentient being as swift as possible, it should be coupled with wisdom. So therefore, in the practice, we call it the union of method and wisdom. The method being the mind of the bodhicitta, the bodhisattva, the bodhicitta, and the method being the wisdom pertaining emptiness. And with the union or the coupling of these two, the method and the wisdom, we're able to sort of dispel. The reason why we need the wisdom pertaining emptiness is to dispel the obscuration, all the obscuration or obstacles, sort of like the obscuration that sort of prevents us from attaining this knowledge, this liberation. And usually, when we talk about this obscuration, we are talking about the three poisons or the afflictions or the afflicted mind. So therefore, we need to attain this wisdom to dispel this obscuration caused by the affliction and ignorance. And therefore, method only is not sufficient. It should be always coupled with the wisdom pertaining emptiness. And so, in terms of the practice, we call it a union of method and wisdom.
데네스나다 당봉한도 아니 심제 아니 내손나 내때부터 심제 도와리쪽 먼저 심제 탐제다 용한 가단다라 된도 단단유도 용한에 쳐봐죠 삼사게 아니 제가 현재 전부터 그는 나오고 토네 아니 어떤도 용한에 갖다 쳐봐 딱 대단하게 제가 지기 왔다 한다면 된대게 선로 숙점보지 된대게 선번이 떤 연제다 전죽습니다 한번 연제 동안나 때거든 동안나 때는 찜으로 선배가 연제 찍기 또 내도 아닌 게 동안나 쳐봐 지기 선배 선배님이 내가 또 감지 범죄 뒤돌아서 못하고
So, to set this particular intention, we're going to do a meditation, particularly thinking about all the sentient beings who are currently suffering their birth in the lower realm. And then with the intention of great compassion, defined by the intention or the mind that says sort of like that says that may all of these sentient beings be able to elevate from the suffering, be able to liberate from the suffering at this very moment. So with this intention, let us do a sort of a meditation uh, of all of these sentient beings being able to liberate at this very moment from the suffering of the lower realm.
나도 나도 안에 꿈도 거저이 안에 심제 저버리 쭉 심제 안에 무슨 다 된도 칸다 가이나 좀 저든 유도 안에 거백이 저런데 잡아 셔서 내제다 대제서 안에 된도 동안에 매 잡아 치기 산재 공부 제작 체도 매 산재 공부 투어 치기 삼삼 삼는 일도 일단 먼저 검제가 가서 다 남지 정말된 검제되게 되냐라 그때 속보게 된다 남녀고 싫어 그것도 검제
So let us do the meditation. The prime focus or target of meditation being that may all sentient beings who are born in this suffering, may all six sentient beings who are born in this suffering, may all of them be liberated from this suffering, and may I be able to liberate them from this particular suffering that they are kin to. And that may I and the sentient being attain the complete enlightenment as swift as possible. And since many of you are already, so Geshe said, since many of you are already used to meditating, so he's not going to emphasize too much on what should be the posture of the body. So he said that with that intention and focus of meditation, we're going to do a short meditation on this particular target.
근데 다 되게 안 돼가지고 네 전적선다 아니 ninja 검도체 다 대신 셔럽셔도서는 지단 셔럽을 이와 뭐 쉬워 이와 나나가다 셔럽이 나나가다 타바데 네 동반이도 배 셔럽서라 다 대인들 다 간도게 소소게 소고이나래 다 하나 지금 용한 아니 세미나래 용한 예수는 다 하나 이제 친구 가려지는 파제 파파 딱제세 제대바이나 네 조구속사시다 디디랑데 있으시나 저기 카바도 차셔와나 카바데 마바 투 파차차차 파체와나 딱 카바스 디리스 조구속사 요마라 또또 이제 중중 받된 차셔지 어디네 지금 뭐 같은데 딘데래도 받자는 예민도 카바스에 받는데 지금 민 다시 버리셔 아니 강사세 되나야 봄봄마라 다시 버들 강사세 딘데 세워서마도 뭐 조구도 디레스 즉 도저히 대야지면도 근데 민도 당고 뭐 탐제 봤다 하셔봐이나 동만 내지랑 시대도 삼바세 능아도 범죄인스
And so this particular meditation that we did is meditation on great compassion or the mind of the Bodhisattva, the Bodhicitta. And now for the wisdom, when we talk about wisdom and when we talk about different classifications of wisdom, there are many different classification and many different types of wisdom. But the one that we are particularly going to discuss here and meditate is called wisdom pertaining emptiness. And so, focusing on our body, the aggregates, or our mind, or any external phenomena that we may focus upon, on the first glance, they may all seem to exist inherently, but upon analysis, upon thorough analysis, as we try to find that essence within each of them that we can call the body, the mind, or any external phenomena such as the phone. If we look at the phone and if we thoroughly analyze the phone to try to find that essence to which we can point out after the analysis and point out and say that, oh, this is the phone. And when we try to analyze this to a very subtle level, we find that there is nothing that is essentially the phone by itself. And so we must understand that every phenomena is in this way, that on the seemingly, on the first glance, it may seem that they exist inherently, but upon thorough analysis, we find that there is inherently from those phenomena. So therefore, all of this, though it be the phone, our body, our mind, or any other external phenomena, they exist conventionally merely on the base of imputation and terminology. And understanding that everything exists merely upon the imputation of the mind, and that in the sense, when we analyze them, there is no essential existence that is other than the mere imputation of the mind, that everything, all these things exist, though it be externally or the self, exists by the mere imputation of the mind. So thinking on that particular concept, we're going to meditate on the wisdom pertaining emptiness.
되게 다당한 저게 그러면 직접 접지. 아니 먼저 다 소소 되지. 맞아도 그것도 된다 따라지. 얘기도 해서 가면. 소소 고네 간디 파트 맞제. 라고 되는 거. 어떤데 않는 것 같은데.
So we're going to do a 1-minute meditation on wisdom pertaining emptiness. So primarily target being the selflessness of self. So Geshe said that meditate and try to search for self. Try to search for the existence of self within you, starting from the crown of your head till the sole of your feet. Try to go through each of your body part and try to point out which is that you call self, which is that you call self that you think that exists, and to investigate. So we're going to do this meditation for 1 minute.
엄마서. 다른 당한 저게 네 담보대 전주습니다. 네 동반이 따와. 냉제 들어서 먼저 가만 같이 고민자래. 다 저제 아니 제바제 된데라 먼저 뭐 된데게 가만치기는 이 나고 된데서 저저 당도 돼. 항상 약다. 소소게 자발랍 전부 체. 저제 제바제 된데. 저제 아니 제바제 된데라 먼저 그 단nem지 개발사와 있는 개발랍 전부. 아니 다는 지금 메가와사와 있는 메가랍 전부 써요. 먼저 대래 안에 저제 거대선에 안에 되게 잡아진 데를 안에 전조선 아니 이제 돈이도 갖다 받는데 공제 좀 그래서 소소소이나 항상에다 제소이랑 지역에 내치고래서.
So on this very auspicious event, we have been able to utilize 1 or 2 minutes of our existence to meditate on bodhicitta and emptiness. And to do so is an action with great merits. It's a very meritorious action. And so therefore, being able to do this particular deed, every one of you should rejoice in this opportunity and rejoice in your ability to do so in this very auspicious event. And usually when we talk about these auspicious events, it is understood that on these kind of day, when your mind sort of inclined towards virtuous action and you tend to apply yourself into a virtuous action, the sort of like the merits that you accumulate are many, many folds greater than other days. And similarly, if you apply your mind and body towards a non-virtuous action, vice versa, those sort of like non-virtuous actions and their impressions or the impressions of those actions also multiply manifolds. So therefore, being able to apply ourselves into not only a virtuous action, but a great virtuous action on this day, every one of you should feel rejoice in your practice and being able to set aside this time from your existence on this very auspicious day.
딱 언저게 단다 안에 전조선다 년제다 돈이도 갖고 매대 심지 제 안에 채도 겁니다. 딱대 개발 없으면 쇼서. 딱 언저게 배제하는 가르쳐서는 년제다 랑 산제가 다좀 같은 저 동반이 있다고데. 안에 사람은 뭐 건반에 전조선방에 초도직 하나 가만 직접 공부데 손남 잡동게 안에 납체였어. 존재 가르쳐서는 그 미유스나다. 더 미유나서라. 전주 선배가 동만이 있다고 공부한다. 카르테 가르쳐봐야 돼. 보면은 신심제 탐자쳐도 좀. 다좀 말한 얘기다. 년한테 저게 전주 선배 동이 전주 선배 동이 또 보면은 나 미유 거봐. 아니 신체도 많이 봤었다. 아니 되게 손남 잡좀 싸도 본. 그래서 난 저기다 저제 제가 되가서 근데 제 심제 탐자 아니 탑보다 탐자지 못해서도 아니 전주 선배 이제 돈이 또 보면은 개발 합성 싶었어요.
So, therefore, to meditate upon the wisdom pertaining emptiness is indeed an action with great merits. Even in the text, it is said that those of the arahats, of the hearers and the solitary realizers, the amount of merit they accumulate when they tend to meditate on emptiness, and the amount of merit that is accumulated by a bodhisattva are such of a great difference, is that the merits that they accumulate by meditating on emptiness for many, many lifetimes, that the arahats of the hearers and the solitary realizer, and the merits that is accumulated by a bodhisattva meditating on emptiness for even 1 or 2 moments, 1 or 2 seconds and minutes, is thousands and million times greater than those of the arahats of the hearers and the solitary realizer. And the logic and the reason behind is because of the intention. The arahats of the hearers and the solitary realizers, they would, the motivation, the goal, the purpose of their practice of meditating on emptiness is simply attaining liberation for themselves. But the bodhisattva does the same, but with the intention of attaining the particular bliss, not for oneself, but for the sake of the sentient beings. And because this particular intention is coupled with their practice, there is a difference of thousands and million folds, even if the actions are the same.
됐으나 당한저 드리 아니 그런 약속이 아니 제베터네 어디내게 다 그런 쪽 그거 좀 됐다 다 상황도 시에서 많이 받아 소름나나 아니 송샤이다 송샤이로 잠만 받을 그거 좀 돼요 송샤와 잠대 마무리를 내 대삼 맞세 아니 그거 좀돼 소소 삼다나 레도 삼삼 내가지 돼요 근데 이제 내가 돈에 당한저 그런 약속이 왔잖아요 근데 드리 사가다 때 아마도 이제 제가 전에 아니
So now that we have begun this session by setting our mind, targeting our mind towards the great minds of the bodhisattvas and the wisdom pertaining emptiness, and these practice being the essence of all practices, it is indeed a very wonderful practice, not only something that is written down in the doctrine. There are many things written down in the sutras and the doctrine. But if we actually analyze on this particular thing, if we actually take them into our practice and analyze them through our subjective experience, we will understand that these are indeed very auspicious and very meritorious actions. And so being able to do this and being able to having achieved this opportunity, this very auspicious opportunity to speak or to give and receive teaching on this very auspicious day of the Lhabab Duchen, I feel that we are very fortunate ones who are currently participating in this session.
난 라밥 되겠으나 사선은 당 산에 산에만 파봤어 좀 되대 산에만 파게 아니 되게 잡아진소. 나띵 아주 배박에 나다 변다 되게 구별 하나 되지 변다 구별이 아니 니신이 지역부터 보통 또 진다에 나타면 이렇게 돌아 구별 하나 되지. 또 배박에 아니 지도는 나다 되 계속 마셔도 되게 송되지. 가서는 좀 되대 아니 뭔가서 사인제네 내려고 맞다가 좀 되대 юм대 공부도 전에 사유를 기반하지. 사유 기반하는데 다 시소에는 좀 되대 저 야가제가 좀 되대 얘네 값서 아니 사유를 앞에 그래서 юм라서가 하는 안에 최소네 답변을 거예요. 근데 일단 나왔으면 얘기 얘네들 나왔으면 쉬워. 남녀 얘네들 나왔으면 되거든. 나왔으면 얘기 사유는 얘네 쉬워. 근데 안에 미여다 메일은데 안에 미다 하나서 보다게 아니 어다 좀 됐더라 그냥 뭐 페로치스 먼저 저랑 또 취하는 거였어 하던데 나 주로 여름만 미를 배도 믿는데야 다이어를 또 되게 내가 주로 이렇게 믿으더라 나도 그냥 취하는 것도 뭐 휴업에는 좀 됐대 다이어네 아니 뭐 앞에 되제더라 어다 들라 안에 되제대 손데 되제대는 안에 답업 되제서 어쨌든 되게 되제대 지난 밀라는 지금 동호회는 그렇게 열다 되게 된다고
So, a very brief sort of introduction to what is Lhabab Düchen. So, it is a word that comprises of, it's a sort of like a phrase comprising of two words, Ha and Pab. Ha referring to, in this case, referring to the God's realm. And in this particular instance, it refers to the God, the Pure Land, the God's land of Tushita. And Pab means to descend. So, this particular event is this particular event happens every 22nd of the 9th month of Tibetan lunar calendar. And it may differ in the Gregorian calendar, but in the Tibetan lunar calendar, it is always on the 22nd of the 9th month. And this is particularly considered a very significant event, one of the four major Buddhist festivals in a year. And it is said that after attaining the enlightenment, not long before that, the mother of Buddha had passed away and had taken a rebirth in the God's realm. And as per the promise, Buddha, during the summer retreat, the time of the summer retreat, it is said that after attainment of enlightenment, Buddha had actually had manifested himself or ascended to the God's realm. And there he gave expounded teaching to his mother, and therefore, in this way, had given her the teaching of the path of liberation. And therefore, it is said that the time that it took for Buddha there was 3 months of the earth time. And therefore, usually when we talk about the summer retreat, it actually is a duration of 3 months. So after the completion of the 3 months, it is said that the people and the students of Buddha in the earth had strongly requested Buddha that for him to descend again to the earth. They said that since we simple humans aren't able to manifest ourselves into the God's realm, and that the gods have the sort of like the power and the ability to manifest themselves into the human realm. So they requested to the Buddha, saying that, please descend upon this earth and continue expounding your precious teaching. And with the consideration of this request, it is said that on this day, Buddha had actually descended from the God's realm to the human realm. And there may be other, there's definitely more sort of elaborate explanation to this event, but this is the brief introduction to what Lhabab Duchen is.
나 근데 아니 좀 되게 제도 이제 야 배우고야 되는데 근데 나한테 개체 못 간다 있나 섬세버라 다데 염세다 소소 마사저라 다 마사데 소소 나노 다 먼저 nemjegi 비자나나 셔도 먼저 섬제 탐자서도 마사데 배 개체 못 줘. 다 먼저게 마게 참바다 제배 있잖아요. 아니 영한테 버셔다라 말에 집어이나 저기에서다 최신의 지원도 믹서를 못 말에 집어이나 만에 만에 마게 아니 제바다 참정되면 내가 있나 초도 저다 찍되지 니네 안에 완전히 단다 어 매기 레데 잡아진 토비도 전에 데이터라는 완전히 취해 잡아야 나데 법정 잡아 저는 시세 된 완전 레데더라 매일 레데 그때 매일 레데드 난게 아마 많은 나요 아마 그래서 그 파도 써대 자서 같은 좀 보면 봐서다 좀 되대 같은 사비 같은 게뭐 되네서도 나 무슨 소리 하기도 돼 말아 주셨어 때문에 때문에 냠도 안 다시 말해 주셨습니다 그거 좀 되게 좋지더라고요.
So one may think, why was it so significant, and what sort of like purpose was so great that Buddha left the earth and went to the God realm to expound the teaching to his mother? How does it outweigh all the sentient beings that were in the earth realm? So the answer for this is that usually when we think about mother sentient beings, we always think of the sentient being as our mother. And then this particular perspective arises from the understanding of being grateful to them. How so? Because this very lifetime that we have to practice the Dharma that delivers us to the liberation, the most important sort of like component or the most important factor for the attainment of this practice is the vessel that we possess, the body or the vessel, and the birth that we have. And the most important sort of like circumstantial factor, or the most important sort of like uh, the factor that uh, makes it possible is the parent, and particularly the mother. It is because of the mother that one is able to attain this vessel, which one can apply to the practice of attaining the liberation. And therefore, as uh, as an action to repay for this great sort of debt that he owed to his mother, Buddha went to the God's realm at that particular time and expounded the teaching to his mother primarily, and all the peripheral gods, the gods in the periphery. And so he did that because he had to repay that great debt that he had, that was done by providing the vessel that he used to attain enlightenment.
다 단다 좀 되대 하네 봐봐 잠마서 다 되는 게 좀 되대 다 잡아 장래 되고 진짜 이렇다 잡아 장래 잡아 다 되는 다 가지고 지단 남지비 혼자다 저단 정말 거의 되는 거지 잡아 좀 있으시 데이터는 아니 어떻게 통통 쉬나 삼스 잡아 좀 있어
And so this particular action or deed that the Buddha action that Buddha did for descending from the God's realm is one of the great deeds that he has accomplished in his lifetime. And so maybe many of you have already heard of this, but in his lifetime, Buddha has actually done 12 great deeds. And so today, on this auspicious day of Lhabab Duchen, Geshe said that he will introduce, or more like teach, on these 12 great deeds of Buddha.
다 담보대 안에 잡아 중이는 담보대 안에 간den네 배를 잡아서 다 대셔도 되는 지단계 저게 까바딜라 산자 동충 썼다 산자 동충에 가서 다 단다 좀 되대 세자도 같대 남대 시와스네 아니 시와스 띵이라 호바지 세동 유송스 어때서도 다 유송게 안에 템바존에 안에 좀 되대 세자도 안에 마 템바도 못해요 tudo nada candega nela ane tayo candega nela ane versión que te pasó de esta mongala ane chorang tiga sa ko tamba to ko sido kono ke wa shi chu su ma ju ta chorang mongala a cha ba leng do ma pe ne ane sanje the Patagores, the Chen, and it in a continent, Mula Pevas. Until any Casore or continent pevets are possible.
So the first of the 12 great deed is descending from the Pure Land or the God's realm. And so it is said that in this very sort of kalpa, the great kalpa, it is said that there will be 1,000 Buddhas who will descend upon and then expound the teaching. And Buddha Shakyamuni, the Gautama Buddha Shakyamuni, happens to be the fourth of these Buddha. Before him, there were three more, and he happens to be the fourth. And so, to do his deeds, the 12 deeds and attainment of enlightenment, he had to come to this realm. And therefore, the first deed that he accomplished is the deed of descending from the pure lands of the God.
That's Jundege, Tandage, and Temperature. Kawadilla Sanja Tonchung, something that some Pachik Potos of the Kawadit. They jigger Potala Sanja Tonchung, that's Sumba Tana Shivatera. But they took the Mongbala, Java Chamba such peers. That Java Chamba and Anjage, Tandage, Cello Jasso, Java Chamba Caso, Natural Tonto, Middle of Cello, top Chamba show you so. Tandaka Sangan de Marcelo Jadama, Mamma, Dim Tamatela, Cello de Lotus Juba Docher, Cello Juba Tita, and it saw the Majangan and Tiparula, and Java Chamba Tamashos. Cello Jubas and Casoneta, make it sitting short, and it's a Losula Termans. That day, she was that day. Marisem the Tangimang among the Chunga Buddha, that things are important to the Chetam Tawai, this the minute of door. Yamana get a share or during Shukorto. Things are put in the Lamsak, Chopot who get a share to what I nip it. Nikamanating Chunga and Lut knew something in a betty, making Chetan in the shade. That it is an Takaja on the Kajala, on the Cello Juvasity, the Chopot left side of it. Or Hasana or Dinedo, the Shakyamaris, Shakyamuni.
So therefore, before the ending of the kalpa, this particular era or kalpa, it is said that there will be the time where the fifth Buddha, the future Buddha, the Buddha Maitreya, and his sort of like teachings will be expounded. But before that, we say that there will be a kalpa or era. We call it the era of 10 years. So currently at this era, we say the era of the people who live for 100 years. There will be an era where people will live for 10 years. And it is said that during that time, the people will be able to sort of like walk the moment they are born. They will be able to talk the moment they are born. And then even if we look at the times that we are right now currently existing, we see these few of those surprising things where we see that there are children who are born, and then we see that there are certain children who are able to, like in our times, in the times before, we see that children, they take time to learn to speak and to walk and do all those things. But we surprisingly see in these particular times that there are certain children who are able to do these things very early in their life. That there are children who are able to speak very early. There are children who are able to walk really early. So this is an indication. We say that this is an indication of the arising of that kalpa. So the kalpa of the people living for the 10 years. So therefore, before Geshe has said that there were three Buddhas that sort of like preceded the Buddha, Gautama, which are the Tanhakara Buddha, the Medakara Buddha, and the Sarankara Buddha, the three Buddhas that precede Buddha Gautama.
On this, this about Tambote Canadian Pavache. Canadian Penny Cosner, and they Yum Shores. Ta Yum Set Yum to Manandema. The book in Majete, and Nimaji Yum Nana, that in a Lanjaka Vacheke, what in Devi, Nilanas, Nanam Tinechum. The net chiefs and send a Senda kind of package to the Nebas, the Uchashas. 나 보고 때 마음 받아 아니다. 근데 직된 돌아 잡아는 직된 돌아다. 다 쳐도 좀 살아. 저 잡아는 다 상제 그랬어. 근데 그 노래. 근데 다 이제 망쳐 고쳐야 다. 예. 잡아 쉬는 거세. 어디라 용기 좀 쉬어봤어요. 다. 간단한 표현은 용기 좀 쉬어.
So the second great deed is entering the womb of the mother. So one night, mother of Buddha, the great queen Mahamaya, she had a dream in which she dreamt that a white elephant with 11 tusks had entered her womb, and asking the pundits and acharya at that time, those who were doing the astrology, they made a premonition. They said that this dream indicates that the great queen Mahamaya will give birth to a child, and when this child will apply himself into the practice of esoteric practices, uh, this child will gain great knowledge and dispel the ignorance of all sentient beings and attain the complete enlightenment. So this is the second great deed, the greed of entering the womb of the mother.
네, 네. 그다마라. 안에 그다마서는 좀 되대. 다 되게 단자신의 사자들 lumbine스더라. 뒤가서 아니 유목스 조사자 봐. 그래서 다 나가라. lumbine스 체들라니 밥에 가서 네 딜라 안에 신들만 탐내니 그다음에서 근데 마스미 삼마시나 하고 그래 정말. 근데 뒤가서 단자신 봐야 뒤가서 자가서 되면 냄제 정말 맞아. 간단한 좀 되대 자가 좀 쓰고. 단자신은 아니 사자들 배육 사자들도 이번에 자가 있는 거면 자가 사자 이거면 맨로 먼저 그 탤런트가 가서 건조해서 좀 전에 자가 좀 그다지 등산다 좀 전에 자가 좀 배우 좀 써야 다 계좌도 줘. 그다지 나가 뭐 시작 잡아는 다른 면에 자가 그 공부도 인기라 다다데 배우 사자라 어다들 안에 보통 안에 사죠 조시나 안에 공부 되는 편에 안에 정말에 배워 정말 안에 메타드니 시작했어. 다들 로지상 거자 다들 시험 거잖아.
And the third great action is the action of taking birth. So during the time when the great queen Mahamaya was going to her paternal home, in the middle, they were resting at this great garden forest called the Lumbini. So Geshe said that when he traveled to Thailand, uh, the monks there would say that Buddha had actually taken birth in India. And Geshe puts forth this sort of like uh, critique, or in a way, he says that maybe at that time, this place might have been a part of India. Uh, so Geshe said that he's not sure about this argument, but he thinks that according to the logic that the people or the monks on the Thailand who are firmly saying that Buddha was born in India, there's only one possible explanation, that maybe in that time, maybe the place called Lumbini, which currently is a part of Nepal, might have been a part of India, and because of which they firmly believe that Buddha was born in India. But currently, this place Lumbini, it exists outside India. It exists in the country of Nepal, where Buddha took birth. And the story, as Geshe said, that many of you must have heard it many times, saying that the great queen Mahamaya, as she was hanging her hand on the branch of the tree, and Buddha was born out of her, born at that time. And then afterwards, Buddha took 7 steps in each direction, and with each step bloomed a lotus flower. So Geshe said that many of you must have already heard that story, so he's not going to elaborate much on this.
내가 안에 시와대 안에 소연을 갖고서 나중에 나좀 되다 가서 안에 네 자베 자주 통해서 대 안에 소리파 어떤 주제를 써 같은 거 장조된 남사 장아 잠지 지라 신바들 면접 안에 보조 같은 데 남사 친 그래다 쏘겠네 카타카라 너 정말 안에 주제 나서서 정말 남사람도 혼자 주로 뭐 데데젤라 소연을 갖고서.
And then the fourth is the action of the studies of the sciences, or the study of the Vedas. So being born in the Kshatriya or the king as the lineage of the king, it is said that Buddha took up the learning of the Vedas at a very early age. And not only did he took up the study of the Vedas, or in Tibetan we refer to them as the sciences, the science of crafts, the science of mathematics, astrology, the science of grammar, the science of medicine, sort like this. And upon on this, he also took up the sort of like the art, the martial arts, and things like this. So it is said that Buddha, from very young age, was a very brilliant student, and his teacher need only repeat once, and then he would be able to understand everything. So in that particular phase of his life, he applied himself in the studies of the Vedas. So the fourth great action was learning of the Vedas.
근데 이제 아니 가와도 좀 커지려 봤어. 다들 안에 좀 되게 보면 야 배도잖아요. 아니 되가도 좀 되세요. 좀 커지려 봤어. 다들 장사 되면서 보다 제대로 되는 비로 당시샤도 이제 수도 돼 장사자. 어디네 좀 시에서 어디에 근데 안에 재판내대로 좀 커지려 봤어.
So the Bhagavat, or the Buddha, at that time, still not attained enlightenment. So the Prince Siddhartha, the fifth great action or the deed that he did was to take up bride or take up marriage life. So as a part of his cycle in the samsara, he did so. And so at that time, the Prince Siddhartha got married. So the fifth great action was the action of taking a bride or action of marriage.
근데 안에 단임에 프랑스어를 봐 배가 가서 안에 이제 나타봤다. 아니 개도 했는데도 나도 처음에 되게 뭐 생각도 되나 다들 가르치 때 나줘야 돼. 내왕이 시리즈. 근데 되게 뭐 동안에 최소한 최적들을 통도 다들 이렇게 좀 그랬어. 근데 뭐 걔네들 뭐 질 세네 어떤 때문에 커버서 되나 나왔다. 가와도 치거렸어. 동화를 해야 되는 것은 자베게 네마 팀내 바빠네. 근데 라도 좀 저거 라도 좀 잡았어. 뭐 같은 라도 좀 잡았어. 팀내 팀에 봐. 라도 좀. 뭐 뒤에 가서 좀 되들 찾아봐이나. 아니 자본인들잖아요. 왕장 요래. 아니 견도로 요래, 명 요래, 또 요래, 시산 요래. 나도 상물 냈다네. 아니 트렌 bat. 남이 딱어 보고 요라, 부요래. 다음에 이제 좀 어디다 찾아 발렸다네. 아니 파페네. 아니 라도 좀 라. 딜레 아니 라도 좀 잡았어.
So during one time when he went for a tour or inspection of his country or his kingdom,
오늘 뉴스 보자.
at the age of 29, he went to sort of like he went for a tour or inspection of his own country. And though it was set in a way that he was never to encounter any suffering, and that was done by the king Suddhodan, but still there he saw some sight which was very unsightly, the things that he usually won't see in the palace. The first he saw a sick man, then he saw an old man, then he saw a dead man and animals who were suffering. And when he asked about this to his attendant, Janna, he said that these were the suffering of the samsara. And at that time, he had a great renunciation to the cyclic existence and left his home in the path of searching of the truth to become a Sherman, at that time. So to become a bhikkhu, as we call him. So this is the sixth great action, the action of taking up the vows of a bhikkhu and abandoning the sort of like the worldly household.
그다음에 아니 라도 좀 제가 아니 다 라도 좀 좀 밑에고 밑에잖아요. 아니 까봤죠. 좀 받을 까봤죠. 아니 근데 그게 로쪽 까봤잖아요. 아니 로쪽라네 잘라도 좀 신도 도다 주로 되게 대받자 맞아. 근데 그거네 아니 까봤지. 로쪽에 아니 좀 신도 지고로 아니 까봤죠. 내가 아니 로쪽 까봤죠. 까봤죠. 잡았어.
And after taking up the vows with the bhikkhu, this being not enough, he applied himself to the esoteric practices, the esoteric practices. So initially starting with hard, more easier, and then to a more harder practice where at the end he had given up on consuming water and grains. So he applied himself to this particular hardship and esoteric practice for 6 long years. So this is the seventh grade practice, the practice of taking up the esoteric practices.
근데 까봤지 되잖아. 다 로또 까봤지 되는 류성만 또 냠. 다 잘하시다 쳐요 말아. 주도까지 다 심도 되는 거야. 로또 까봤지 되잖아. 이제 근데 치스 다 되는 류지 터네. 까봤지 돼. 대담제다 양배 다 받았던 거죠. 토메도지. 뭐 전에 막 로또 검자되나 막 되네. 근데 치즈다 친구가 보면 이제 뭐 전적을 봤던 거 되게 엄마도 그 이제는 고소도 봐야 당도서 예전 뇌지 가봤자 보면 봐는데 신에다 전륜력으로 시작했다. 전적 도제된 산제에서 주대죠. 신에는 신에다 뇌지 가자 대삼제 되게 믿었어. 신에다 다봐 도제된 주된 전주식으로 신에다 네 검자다. 검자다. 그걸 저는 사이즈에서 사자도 어디로 검자를 봐해. 어디로 봐시고 대처를 봐시고 또 어디로 전준이 보시고 왔어.
And upon the end of the practices, this hard practices for the 6 long years, Buddha realized that simply giving suffering to this flesh that we call the body is not enough for the attainment or realization of the truth. And upon the end of his practice, the daughter of the village chief, Sujata, she offered a bowl of rice and milk, otherwise also probably the sort of like most probably like the key to Buddha, and then upon consuming that, Buddha regained his physical strength and health. And after that, he went on his path towards Bodh Gaya, and there he went to practice under the Buddha towards the Bodhi tree. And so this is the ninth grade practice, which is the practice of walking towards the path of enlightenment.
이제 내가 디오들라 뒤뒤버스. 딱 전준이 그 행동하라. 검 답니다. 조이가 가서 뒤 가자 당하는. 뒤뒤에서 가자시고 당네. 나 건조게 안에 요걸로 다 천자다. 내가 되는 대제제는 건조게 가자 당할 때도 되네. 가자 당도. 근데 이거한테 가자 당도 다 사들. 몸에 대해서다. 사대 안에 지구군지 사 저것도 대 최초부터 사대 지구군지 사레스 안에 대 안에 저대 안에 가서다 사대 대충은 다 대라 수직이 다 사대 수는 다 보지 않는데 수직마다 저도 다요 말이지 이 맞은 저랑세 단자스는 안에 살아 차드네 샤바 가서 사이 때 맞는 거 야, 되네 내 저랑서 다 알아야 되네 디델레서 소 저 저번에 다 가서 뒤뒤에 잡아서는 다 뒤에 가서 뒤 대전들 안에 바제 먹고 다니 천자 담을 이제 좀 되잖아. 네도요. 모두 랭킹가 안에 되는 사이트 한번 때문에 된 저런 방법을 되게 막 차도 살아셔고 셀도 맞다 맞대 야 선에 편인데 좀 저런 송아대 알아내려 되는 뒤에서 랭킹 마신이 근데 어디에도 저기 내봤다 다음 참석 뒤에 잡았어 되지. 되죠. Onwards.
So the ninth grade action is the action of conquering the Maras. So during his meditation under the Bodhi tree, it is said that after the realization, at that particular practice, during the practice, it is said the Maras came and inflicted great obstacles. First, they manifested themselves into sort of like very beautiful girls, and then afterward they started manifesting themselves into armies and storms or swarms of beasts and demons that shoot arrows towards the Buddha, but weren't able to harm him, inflict any harm. And at the end, as Mara investigated Buddha, telling him, what is your evidence that you have liberated from the chains of the samsara? He said that this particular land that I sit upon is a land that does not belong to anyone, and anyone can utilize this land. I take upon this land as my evidence that I have truly understood the reality and that I have truly realized the reality of all existence. And upon that, after that, this Mara just aroused from the ground, and he said that, yes, what you have said is true, and I take this land as the evidence. You have been liberated from the chains of existence. And this is the time when Buddha had conquered the great Mara. And this is the ninth great deed.
다 주바들 안에 상계가 잡았어. 다 상계에서는 다 잡아져도 다 먼저게 좀 되다. 뒤가서 안에 немало 되자. немало 다 시제 집에 집어 탐제 세네. 제랍 타르지 못. 어디에 중앙에다 상계 봤어. 다 상계도 되면 세워되는 데 남서. 제대로 요마라. 다디 상계 봤어. 어디에 있어. 다디 지난 게 먼저게 다디 주택카 주택시여. 안내 지라마와도 도대 봤습니다. 맞아. 뭐 쓰지. 다 지라마와도 도대 봐도 주택왕도 제와는 상황에서 다 되고서 예리서. 특별점이 좀 됐습니다. 맞아. 엄마 봐도 주택도 제와는 상계에 잡았대 맞잖아요. 맞아. 상황이 됐다죠. 그래서 근데 이렇게 봐죠.
So then momentarily after, is the 10th great deed, is the deed of attainment of complete enlightenment. So when we talk about this particular stage, there are different arguments. The arguments, so in Buddhism, we have, particularly talking, we have 4 tenets. And if we go even more sort of like precise, the last tenet, that is the Madhyamaka, as the Swatantika and the Prasangik Madhyamika. So if we classify the 4, if we just take the 4 and classify them, the first 2, which is the Vibhashika and the Swatantika, these are understood as the tenet that expounds the true existence of external phenomenalism. So they talk about the true existence of external phenomena. So these 2, which comes under this particular tenet, they expound or they explain this particular deed, saying that at this very moment it was that the Buddha has attained the complete enlightenment. But the Chittamatra and the Madhyamika, they assert a different understanding. They say that at that very moment, it was just a representation of that action. But in reality, Buddha had actually attained enlightenment many, many lifetimes ago. So this was only done by Buddha to demonstrate to us that if we also apply ourselves in this way, that we will attain the same goal. So the Chittamatra and the Madhyamika asserts that that was a mere demonstration, representation of the deed, but in actuality, the real enlightenment, the attainment of the complete enlightenment by the Buddha was already attained many lifetimes ago. But the Vibhashika and Swatantika, they assert that no, that is not the case. It was at this very moment that the Buddha actually attained the complete enlightenment. So there are 2 arguments, but this was the moment that Buddha had, be it represent or actually realizing the complete enlightenment. So this is the 10th great action, the great action of attainment of complete enlightenment.
준비돼 그것 저거에 다 상계가 치고 있어도 그거 싸우면 되잖아요. 다 상계네 가르쳐서. 다 지우다야 돼. 뭐 상계 다 돼서 지우다면 돼. 되잖아요. 다 준비돼 상계에 제서 아니 다 와 도저되는 상계라. 상계는 봐. 도저되는 와르네들 봐. 준다 뒤에 봐패. 신나 봐. 신나 봐. 제 봐패를 되잖아요. 근데 가서 뭐 다 저처럼 상계사를 좀 되잖아. 상계사를 다 저런 최송 거래. 그렇죠. 송로지 있으면은 쇼 먹을 줄 하다 비먹죠. 내가 좀 되다 되다 된 랭라네. 안에 추진 송은 주마 송은 근데 제 공부하는 패드 어디서나 되는 주마 송은 때는 시소 안에 와라네스 안에 거랑한테 상불나 안에 덴바시게 주당 송라 어디서 와저잖아 안에 추지 콜로코베 잡았어 자들 추지 콜로들 추지 콜로 숨지었다 콜로 담는 거 숨을했어 어디래가 안에 추지 콜로코베 잡아 안에 담보대 안에 와라네스 덴바시게 좀 숨지 대전의 소파다네 최저 콜로코를 잡았어.
So after the attainment of enlightenment, it was not so that by only attainment of the enlightenment that all the sentient beings would be liberated from the suffering. So after that, Buddha had to go and expound the Dharma so that the sentient beings would benefit from it. So for the first 7 weeks, that is 49 days, it is said that though many gods and many sort of sublime beings had approached Buddha and requested Buddha to expound his teaching, for the first 7 weeks or 49 days, Buddha was not able to establish a proper disciple for the expounding of the teaching. It was then afterwards, through his premonition, he was able to see that the first teaching or the first turning of the wheel of Dharma, is as it is said in the text, should be done at the auspicious site of Varanasi, to the auspicious disciples of the five primal disciples of Buddha. And so it was that at that moment, at the site of the Varanasi, Buddha did the first turning of the wheel of Dharma by expounding the first teaching, that is the teaching on the Four Noble Truths. And after that, he did turn 2 more wheel of Dharma, so a total of 3 turning of the wheel of Dharma. So this particular action is known as the great action of the turning of wheel of Dharma.
근데 최저 걸로 림바스나 소파야지. 고네 되게 뭐 쇼제 답변함도 탐. 근데 담아드는 안에 좀 되대 번호 제주 값. 근데 다저 통도 안에 양해를 때고 소대 못했어. 다 산제 좀 되대 많이 나다 담아드. 아, 대시 양해 때도. 다저는 집에 조정 다 시에레스. 근데 이제 되게 남아 안에 딱 봤으면 당지도 했을 아니 수 양해를 때고 수도 세상제 양해 때요. 선제 양해 용 못했어. 선제년 때 통세요. 얘는 두제 된줄은 딱 봤으면 딱 봐니 좀 딱 봤던도 되게 식 말했었는데 내게 담로도 더 했을 때는 사저 통나는 그 제주 가서는 공부량을 때 봤을 때 그래서 공부량을 때 봤어.
So then, after at the age of 80, at Kushinagar, Buddha finally rests into parinirvana, or in the layman's term, it is called the death. So in the sutra, it is said that for a Buddha to pass away is not possible, but here it is understood as a sort of a demonstration or representation of Buddha showing the process of passing away to teach to his disciples that after every birth, it shall follow with death, and to dispel the firm grasping of eternalism, that I shall live tomorrow or day after that. So to teach his disciple that they should dispel this concept of eternalism and embrace the understanding of impermanence. It is said that at the age of 80, Buddha did his final great deed. The 12th great deed is passing away into parinirvana, or passing away into death.
근데 제바 중년 소파다 제바 망고들의 망보여. 어디는 제바 중년 날라가 딱 캐치션 잡아도 가래. 그러나 저한테는 제바 캐치션 가래 있어.
So Buddha in his lifetime had done many different deeds or actions that benefited the sentient beings, such as these 12 great deeds. So Geshe is asking, which do you think was the most important deed that he had done in his lifetime? Which among these 12 do you think was the most significant as per your own understanding or as per your own opinion? Which one do you think is the most important deed that Buddha has done in his lifetime amongst these 12.
Yes, Ilango, you can go ahead and say.
Yeah, I would pick turning the wheel of dharma.
Geshe-la, Korangi karsonsla-na, Korangi samatans-na nga zu zeba chungni-na nga zu ki chogo-go zeba sheba dingi ta ke cheshe-re shasam-gu-dus-las.
근데 신바진. 시바 성계도 내년.
Geshe-la is asking if there are any other
That's the legacy, na. I think it's conquering the Mara. That's what I think, like, that's the most difficult thing. So I think conquering the Mara is the most great deed, no?
라서 Geshe-la, 아니 Korangi karsonsla-na nga zu ki Korangi samzul-she-la nga zu ki zeba chungni-na nga zu ki du jombe zeba la-ti nga zu ki di ke cheshe insa sam-gu-dus.
그래서 느끼지.
Yeah. So I guess they all are quite important. So it's just a matter of deciding maybe which one is more important. I think maybe the first one you talked about, descending from God's realm, because if he had not descended, then we wouldn't have all had the benefit of all his teachings, because he went to God's realm right after he was enlightened. So he had to come back to basically spread his teachings and do everything else that would benefit all of us for many thousands of years after that. So yeah, it could be anything, but I think that's what I'm saying. So yeah.
Korangi karsonsla nga zo jidane zeba chungni sheba dina keche yozo nani chaza nga zo ki sangi zeba indi kechen pares. Iya din nane ta Koran susu ki samatans na nga zo ki keche she ro chi nga zo ki kante re dola na nga zo ki tanda kante nen po zeba da chi nga zo yoro. Didi nga zo zeba keche she re sha kanyis na kante gi nene ma pepso na nga zo ki chi kiawa lang batang, chue song batang, 상계 발라소바디 아니 중국말로 왔을 때 상가서 간데는 포이츠바디 개체실에 샤스라지 코나다랑 송수
만나실 것이 I think.
So I also feel that it is the 11th deed, which is for 49 days, Buddha was contemplating on how he would finally teach after getting enlightenment. But I also, if I have to say something else, then it would be, the Madhyamika Marga, when he accepted kheer from Sujata and gave up on the rigid lifestyle that he had before that. So maybe that is the 8th one.
코랑기 가송슬라나가 저기 지단에 예상다스나가 저기 초고에 자바디 개체셔레도스 마톤 다 텔레 셴베지 담라나가 저 카레샬라나가 저기 단다 디 저기 단다 제방아 저기 폐지 개발된 인사래 저기 단다 저기 숫자다 제 코나게 저기 다 상계라 저 데이 토바치 앞으로와 저 다디 셰정아 저 일단 전주긴 남나 파슈에 지요로 저기 까두디 길람텔라 트부멘토스라 까두다 류까두기 트부 남나 트부멘토스라 전 전주이 남나 파페 제바 개발 데페제 개체시 인사래 섬고도스라
I think so. Diptiji said something.
Well, I think it's really easy to be sort of selfish in one's interpretation of why the Buddha came. I wouldn't know whether we deserve the Buddha to come from the heavens more than maybe others. I don't know what other existences are out there, but I'm guessing Buddha did know. And for me, even if it's the lesson of impermanence, and I think it is an important lesson, Buddha was I think the fact that Buddha taught us is amazing because he seems to me like the best teacher. So whatever he wishes to teach or wanted to teach seems to me the most important part of him doing anything on, I don't know if I'm expressing myself, whatever, I think it's just his teachings, whatever he's teaching. So does that make
Lo Quran ki khar sons la nga cheki chitane nga cho ta 강사 제라발 지도바 이나가 저기 다자 던바 샤케토바데 간데네 마 포제가 저 최송고 여바지 사무타지 당아 저희 간데기네랑아 저 사든 저랑아 저희 최 송에 딜랭아 졸라 송고에 개체 인산베 로징아 저 샤여 샤샤레스 땡아 저 다진제 로이 겜베 페제 개체고 레스가 저로 딘데기 다치바 젬베 로이 톤 따스나가 저 기타 간데네 마 포바데 사무탄데 페 까티 쳔보 임파 삼코구도스 안 딘데 징아 저 상계기 최 딘데 징아 초 퇴나 송바치 당아 저기 타유 가덴레나 마송 쟁아 초 미유라 페쟁아 저 미턴도 마 송바치 삼노탄데 다제데 데베 로슈 쳔바치 여바든 얘기 초슈 쳔바 중고도 마던다 상계 또 쳔보 인도 덴데기 최송 안테나 믹세 땡아 저기 칼라나 단도 제바 중니 파데나 nga 저 상계 꾸냥엘 쇼베 제바 디캅수 안 드자 랑아 저기 미타파 셰바딩아 저기 템베 다 최송바디 항상에 샤스가 저 띵아 저 제바 참만나네 nga 저기 항상 지단의 상계기 최카리 송바이나 참마 초도 규바지다 양다고 진바들랑아 저기 도바요 말했대 마토네 다대 차랑아 저기 냥엘레 대정아 저기 두자라 nga 저기 개베 타마 치규 인바지다 미다베기 추던바디 nga 저기 최상만나네 nga 저기 다 항상에 지당아 저기 양생진지레 샤스가 저기 안 덴레지 던바 제베가 저기 개베신이 여바나네 다 초도 규바디 상계 인바디 nga 중고숨 레스가서 안 덴레지 던바디 아니 얘기 가상고들나 제바 상만나네 개체시 진바 초알리게 도스라지 됐송스구나
맞습니다.
And also on what Geshe said, I wonder if Buddha actually came or went, is there coming and going? Or perhaps Geshe is alluding to some other way that Buddha exists, or I don't know.
코나 가송스란 타마데 계실라에 단당아 저기 쇼나 데스나가 저기 상계라서 올라가 저 치에 요 말했을도 되게자 쉐둥아 저 상계 당아 저기 오마칭아 저 꾸냥이라 쇼쟁아 저 방법가 된네 초패봐 타만 양일 때는 파죠 되딩아 저기 따치다 지된 건조긴 하와도 여바치 마도 아 저기 따된 담배네로나 저기 원에 된듯이 연아 매나 계자 시 임베 턴다치를 베스라치 된듯이 삼 코고 도스라스 코나기 계실라 상계라 등아 저기 종아에 요 말했을라치 시에 요 말했을라 계자
그래서 단다다 사상계 안에 소소 삼조 항상 하고 싶어. 다 담보된 양을 대 간세. 가den데나 마와이나 다시 받은 영상 연마서 좀 제시고. 이렇게. 여기다 뒤마되어이나 안에 뒤 바자다네. 뒤마되어이나 산제도 봐. 산제마도는 대juk 잡아요. 저는 지금 신발 보면 내게 마셔도 마서 뭐는 구수스네. 근데 야 친구는 보시네. 산제도 영상 연마라. 단 양을 대화도 찾아와나 단 양을 대화도 잡았던 말 때문에 안에 두자 탐대라다 구조 숙좀 못더라. 단지도 시죠 말이야. 어디지? 일단 시간에 최저 걸 먹고 와이나 산자게 산제나 최고면서 와이나 두자 줄라. 아니 되게 타바트지 남자 똑바로 계속 말아. 때문에 정말 산제 잡아 정말 좀 되었으니 된데 저런 세워나 저게 된데 좀 제침을 요래 된데게 안에 섬도시 항상 야보인스 제수나 쉬인스 답변하는 것도 가르쳤습니다. 잡박군의 숨기네 잡박 초이트야. 그래서 텔레산제 제대 중에서는 다 숨기 잡박대 초들이 숨었다 되잖아. 맞나 숨기 잡박대나 연나 좀 되다 숨기 요바나 디바도 가요스. 내 숨기 거의나 땡가 요스. 가서 숨기 냠래 숨대대 연이 숨교대 만이나 연나 펜도마. 요저도 숨기 요바나 숨기 냠래 때문에 좀 되다 요바 찍고 되잖아. 숨기 냠래 잡아는 소소 냠래 잡아 되는 똑바지는 사람 남자 되는 다 받고 그래서 어디서 나다 배제 나나 시간 저런 상만 좀 돼. 약고 쉬어. 배제 시시자와나 잡아 군이 나나다. 송교 잡아 최적 걸로 잡아대. 개체 좀 있어.
So Geshe said, every one of you have given very profound and wonderful answers. And truly, if Buddha was never to come from the God's realm, all the rest of the deeds were impossible. So therefore, the first deed was very important. If Buddha would not have expounded the teaching, have not done the turning of the wheel of dharma, he would not have completed his purpose of enlightenment. And if Buddha would not have conquered the Maras, he would not have been able to attain the enlightenment. If the daughter of the village chief Sujata would not have given the rice and the milk to Buddha, he would not have realized that mere suffering to the body of flesh is not enough to attainment of the reality, and he would not have pursued the path of enlightenment. And if he would not have passed away to parinirvana to show the reality of impermanence, the self to tell his disciples that there is no essence in self-grasping, there's no essence in the concept of eternalism, then many of his students will still be in ignorance. So all of these sort of the answers that you have given are not just answers that has been opinion, just merely to be an opinion, but these are backed by great logics and reasoning from your side. And therefore, this is the reason why your answers are profound in this manner. But in accordance to the text, and this is also backed by the text of the logic of the text, it says that out of all of the 12 deeds that Buddha has done, the most important is the turning of the wheel of dharma. Because wherever there is my teaching, there is me. Me and my teaching are not dual to each other. And those who ever listen to my teaching and practice it accordingly will receive my blessings. So he says that it is same, and actually it's the same for him to be where his teachings are. So him and his teachings are not separate. So wherever his teaching is, Buddha resides there. And whoever practices those teaching practices me and will attain what I have attained and attain my blessings. So according to that logic, the text says that of all the 12 great deeds that Buddha has done, the deed of turning of wheel of dharma becomes the most superior one.
그래서는 숨기 때 봤어요. 단단히 열었다. 다야 만족에 대 신받던 건 단단 가도 때 가정 가서 표줬다요. 되게 같은 데는 중요해. 나 단자 가서 숨기 때 봤대. 만족에 답했대. 써봤더니 좀 되다 뭐서 샤슈나 먼저 좀 되다는 수준이 중요하냐. 남내 맞아봐야 다 데려오더라. 남내 저와는 단단히 좀 되다 그 숨다. 저서 남내 전에 달로 야다 동다 마보다 가서 도살해. 니 동업자 도살해. 단단히 좀 되다 수치 숨들라는 거지. 남내 전에 똑같지. 또 상마 단단 도시. 그 숨기 때 봤다는 라. 잡아 심하던 단단 가서 뭐 다 belong제 빠지 데레스 때 가보다. 숨기 때 봤다는 거지 배치다해.
So out of everything that still exists, we see that that physical form in which we see Buddha existed 2,500 years ago. We no longer can talk to him at this very moment. But the thing that still exists as it did 2,500 years ago is his teaching. And if we are not to apply ourselves to practice, it wouldn't make any difference. Even the Buddha would appear in form in front of us. And if we requested him, oh, please give us the teaching, it won't be of any benefit if we do not apply ourselves to the practice. And if we would too, and if he would have given us the teaching, it would be exactly the one which exists till now. So out of all of his manifestations, all of his blessings, the one that we can still physically visit, use and see before our eyes and experience is his speech, that is his teaching. So therefore, even after 2,500 years from Buddha for walking on this earth, the one thing that he left for us that we still can use is his speech and his teaching. And that is the reason why the 11th deed, the great deed of turning of wheel of dharma, is considered to be the most important out of the 12 great deeds.
나는 최고들을 야 대세잖아. 최고를 남자 마음을 씌어 다들 대세는 도저히 마음을 보고래 대세면 거 같아. 나 단다 딥디 제게 대 뭐나 son에 돼. 현재 안에 참아 군접다 대담 거 직송다 다 좀돼 되고 뭐 양해를 때마다 아니 산재 양해를 때가 요 말이스 근데 양해를 때와서는 딱 먼저 또 찾아봐나 통도에 돼 소위 준비 근데 당신이 그런 거 한번 가지고 어디에 가요 뭐 산재 거나 중지 전화에 주로 가자 쉬나 소소라고 또 뭐 근데 맞은 내가 안에 소위 준비 받치듯 영어만 치듯요 뭐 산재 그때 쉬나야 근데 쇼트베 저서비다 영어 톱자 디젤 그때 지나 그때 지나 어떤데 대선다 아니 대서 상마 지된 게 아니 군족만도 지나 디데시나 다 대단만도 제가 했다 차다 아니 가서 받자는 일이요 뭐 세더라 아타 대단만도 제가 했나 받대 되고이나 아니 산제스나 가레스나 제 니네요 말 아니 산제 쇼포스 받자가 있나 다 데이터를 디레스 되요 말 대담자만도 지나 가시어는 상마 동반이 라지 붙이고 되냐랬어
So therefore, if we were to elaborate on the three turning of wheel of dharmas, it's going to take a lot of time, and therefore we will just leave it at here when it comes to the turning of wheel of dharma. And for the answer of Diptila, who asked about in the text, it is said that Buddha cannot truly die. So we can talk about it in two perspectives, in the conventional and the ultimate perspective. In the conventional understanding, like us who die at the end of our lifetime, Buddha does not die in that way. Buddha will perform everything he has to perform in this world, and then he has the control when he will die, or she will die, or they will die. And that is what the Buddha has, and we do not. We do not have the ability to say, like, we want to die only after the attainment of what we have to do. No. We die at the end of our life. We have no control over death. But for Buddha, there is no such thing. Buddha will be born for a purpose, and Buddha will die after the completion of the purpose with his own decision, that he has the control over his own death. So therefore, conventionally, that is the reason we say that Buddha cannot die, because he has control over his death. And he does not die at the end of his life. He dies when his purpose is done. And ultimately, when we talk about it, then it applies to everyone. That is, there is no true death, there is no true birth, there is no true arising, there is no true perishing. Everything is dependently existing, and at the end of everything, the essence of everything and the nature of everything is emptiness. So everything is empty of nature. So that is the ultimate perspective of there is no death. But conventionally, the one that that good Geshe said, that Buddha has the control over when they can pass away, rather than us who will die at the end of our life. So that is the meaning of saying that Buddha does not die.
어떤 단다 드링 가져 안에디 아바트제 또 어제 돌대지다 디레 춤소 다 딜라 제단 되거든요 미사요나 되게 니드스입니다 좀 그냥 저저시랍니다 같이 해달라 주세요.
So with this, we are done with today's session of introduction of the 12 great deeds on the very auspicious occasion of Lhabab Duchen. And so Geshe said that he will welcome two questions, because he knows that some of you might have other sort of things to do, and he doesn't want to keep you for long. So he says he will welcome two questions.
May I ask one?
Go ahead, Diprila.
As Geshe is such an excellent teacher, and as close perhaps to the Buddha as we can get, can he suggest some good deeds to do today?
코란기 가송슬은 딱 게실랑아 저기다 항상아 저기 계획신영아 저기 연된 초도 교지레샤스 대송장 다 달링기 합업 뒤진라 니모텔라 나랑 저기 제토의 계획래 간대지나 뭐 된대지 최고레스 라정아 저기 남들 깔로 춘주지 나로 체스
let's 다데 캐셔 마셔 그래서 Lhabab Düchen 잠마세 아니 Düchen라데 Lhabab Düchen라 소파다 Düchen 제바제보다 최고의 것이 대마사 남셔 준다 것도 최고야지 대대진 고도 통보 먼저 전주습니다 민제다 돈이도 갔다 왔어요 전제도라는 수습에 니레신도 까마찍 용대 까마찍 삼당도 하는 수남 합정사다 까마찍 먼저 기억나 저런 망보지라 근육용 말 전주습니다 근육용 말 돈이도 갔다 왔어요 근육용 근데 그 님바지라 까마찍 직접 삼당 돈나요 항상 납치 못 잡았어 어제도 근데 소설 되는 신경 소설 안에写了 신백이 잡아대 소설 가득득 소설 누가다 박도에다 두잖아 뭐버지라 뜬bet던데 가르쳐도 봐야 돼 체도만 끊어서 보지 근데 체도 봐야나 충단나 충중조리나 있나 소설에 셈나나 개와 항상 납치 못 싸웠어 근데 안에 남자 준도 그것도 이제 힘들지 많이 봐 남자 준도 진짜 털어 삼을 좀 데이트스탄도 봐야나 항상 yapıyoruz.
So Geshe said that this is an excellent question and that he's going to answer this, but not just an auspicious event in his target, but something that one can do every single day. So it is very important to do something of a virtuous action on these particular auspicious events or days, but it's also important to have the consistency of doing these deeds throughout your lifetime. So he says that as we have done today before this session, to take out 1 or 2 minutes from our daily life and then to dedicate it into the practice of meditating on emptiness and the bodhicitta and the great compassion. To do that will get us an immense, unmeasurable amount of merits. And so the act, and these also benefits greatly to the sentient beings. So therefore, the deed or actions that you might not only incorporate today, but something that you can take with you for your entire life is to take out 1 or 2 minutes from each of your day. Maybe in the beginning or the end, you may take 1 or 2 minutes and then dedicate it, entirely dedicate it without interruption to think and contemplate and meditate on the bodhicitta and emptiness.
Thank you. Thank you.
One last question. Anybody?
제가 당한 적이 죽들라 네 뭐봐야 보세요 라다 드린 건 적에서 도저히 제가 젠된다네 근데 주인이 제 고와중대 그런 담보대 아니 전료습니다 이제 동의도 따라 군자는 되잖아요 손남 납치 못 사셔서 손남 납치 못해 근데 상마제 봐도 야 대체도 아니 개발된 탐제 아니 조장도 뭐 저거 산제 도배체도 아니 저거 가르쳐 봐대 심지 시행 탐제 체도 저거 산제 특별히 교를 줘봐쇼 서면 된대게 뭐봐야 보지 이제 이렇게 좀 말해 이런 게 주다 아니 뭐가 뭐는데 동그라 대값은 삼을 때 다고 지금
So Geshe said that since it seems there's no more question, so we'll end the session. But when we end the session, let us end this auspiciously with dedication. And then he said that we have started this day, this session, with the intention of the bodhicitta and emptiness. And we have started this session auspiciously. And because of the start or initiation of this session being very auspicious, all of us have accumulated an immense amount of merit. And so now we should make sure that this merit that we have accumulated shall be utilized until the attainment of enlightenment, that it shall go a long way. And for us to be able to take it for a long way, we need to dedicate it to an excellent target. And here, Geshe said that let us dedicate every single merit that we have accumulated here because of this session towards the attainment of enlightenment, not for only ourselves, but for the sake of all sentient beings. So at the end of the session, the dedication prayer will be recited. And when the dedication prayer will be recited, Geshe said that he asked every one of us to think about this particular thing, to dedicate every single merit that we have accumulated today for the sake of enlightenment, not for me, but for the sake of me and the mother sentient being.
전에 딱 먼저 소소소 제수이랑 정보받아 제수이랑 아마란 디레체도 소소소 제수이랑 전에 제가도 대드린 좀 되고 상말 봐서 제수이랑 제다 드린 디레체봐라 상말 염축 잡아들라 좀 띵네 제수이랑 제 이렇게 좀 보셔 제수이랑 제수.
And another very significant practice with dedication is the practice of rejoice. So Geshe requested everyone to rejoice in their ability to participate here today and the ability of every one of the participants who have taken time from their life to be here in this moment and to be able to participate in this session. So rejoice in one's own attainment of merit and rejoice in the wonderful virtuous practice of every one of the participants that have come together to make this session possible.
Okay, thank you, Tenzin Lakpala, for the translation. And thank you, Geshe for the precious teachings on this auspicious day. Let us recite the dedication prayer. May all beings everywhere plagued by suffering of body and mind obtain an ocean of happiness and joy by virtue of my merits. May no living creature suffer, commit evil, or even fall ill. May no one be afraid or belittled with the mind weighed down by depression. May the blind see forms and the deaf hear sounds. May those whose bodies are worn with toil be restored on finding repose. May the naked find clothing, the hungry find food. May the thirsty find water and delicious drinks. May the poor find wealth, those weak with sorrow find joy. May the forlorn find hope, constant happiness and prosperity. May there be timely rains and bountiful harvest. May all medicines be effective and wholesome prayers bear fruit. May all who are sick and ill quickly be freed from their ailments. Whatever diseases are there in the world, may they never occur again. May the frightened cease to be afraid and those bound be freed. May the powerless find power and may people think of benefiting each other for as long as space remains, for as long as sentient beings remain. Until then, may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. Thank you, each one of you, for being here. Bye-bye. You can unmute and say thank you to Geshe if you wish on this auspicious day. Yeah.
Thank you, Geshe.
Thank you, Geshe.
Thank
Thank
you.
you,
Thank you,
Geshe.
Tenzin Lapa.
Thank you, Tenzin Lakpala,
Thank
for
you, Tenzin Lakpala.
interpretation. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Milan. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.